In the vast landscape of the human mind, creativity emerges as that mysterious phenomenon that constantly challenges the limits of the established, transforming the imagined into the real and the abstract into the concrete. Far from being a gift reserved for a select few, as was believed for centuries, creative ability is revealed today as a deeply human faculty that lies dormant in every individual, waiting for the right conditions to manifest in all its fullness. Contemporary neuroscience has demystified the creative process, showing how it does not arise from a void, but from the complex interaction between seemingly disparate neural networks in an electrochemical dance that connects the known with the yet-to-be-imagined. The creative act constitutes a fascinating paradox. On one hand, it requires technical mastery and deep knowledge of a specific field. On the other, it demands the ability to transcend precisely those established frameworks to glimpse new possibilities. Longitudinal studies conducted at Stanford University reveal that moments of greatest creative insight often occur when the mind, freed from obsessive focus on a problem, allows normally separate neural networks to establish unusual connections. This phenomenon explains why so many revolutionary ideas have emerged during moments of mental relaxation, during walks, baths, or in that limbo between sleep and wakefulness, when the brain's executive control relaxes enough to allow for novel associations. In the modern organizational realm, where the capacity for innovation has become the main competitive differentiator, creativity has ceased to be seen as a luxury and has positioned itself as a strategic necessity. Research from the Boston Consulting Group shows that companies that systematically cultivate the creativity of their teams outperform their peers by 46% in growth and adaptability metrics. However, the traditional corporate environment, with its emphasis on immediate efficiency and linear thinking, often acts as a powerful inhibitor of this fundamental human faculty. Truly innovative organizations have understood that creativity flourishes under specific conditions: psychologically safe spaces where mistakes are considered part of the process, dedicated time for unstructured exploration, and cognitive diversity that confronts teams with radically different perspectives. Cognitive psychology has identified what it calls the 4 states of the creative mind: preparation, deliberate accumulation of knowledge; incubation, unconscious processing of the problem; illumination, sudden appearance of the solution; and verification, critical evaluation of the idea. This cycle, initially described by Graham Wallace in 1926, has been validated and expanded by modern neuroimaging techniques that show how different brain regions take center stage in each phase. What is fascinating is that this process is not linear, but recursive, with constant back and forth between phases, which explains why the most transformative ideas often emerge from long periods of apparent stagnation, followed by bursts of sudden clarity. The myth of the solitary genius has been dismantled by numerous historical studies, revealing how even the most iconic creators worked within dense networks of intellectual exchange. Einstein's letters show how much he owed to conversations with colleagues. Darwin's notebooks meticulously record his dialogues with contemporary naturalists. Shakespeare's manuscripts evidence his deep knowledge of the work of his peers. Creativity, at its core, is a collective and social phenomenon, fueled by exchange and debate, as demonstrated by Stephen Johnson's work on the liquid environments that have historically generated creative explosions, from the cafes of the Enlightenment to the laboratories of Silicon Valley. The psychological barriers to creativity are as powerful as they are invisible. Our brain, optimized for energy efficiency, tends to rely on known solutions and established patterns, which psychologists refer to as functional fixedness. Carl Dunker's experiments with the candle problem, where participants fail to see that a box can be both a container and a support, illustrate how our rigid mental categories can blind us to obvious solutions. Overcoming these limitations requires what Edward de Bono called lateral thinking, that ability to approach problems from unexpected angles, questioning fundamental assumptions that we didn't even know we had. Traditional cultures offer surprisingly modern perspectives on the creative process. The Japanese concept of ma, that negative space or interval between elements that allows for their appreciation, resonates with scientific findings on how periods of rest and relaxation are crucial for creative incubation. The African notion of Ubuntu, I am because we are, reflects the ancestral understanding that creativity is a communal phenomenon rather than an individual one. These alternative visions challenge the hyper-individualistic Western model of creativity, proposing instead a more ecological and relational conception. In the era of artificial intelligence, where algorithms can generate works of art, music, and even coherent texts, human creativity faces new challenges and opportunities. While machines excel at the efficient recombination of existing elements, human creativity retains its advantage in the ability to imagine the radically new, to connect seemingly unrelated domains, and to infuse emotional and cultural meaning into creations. The most visionary organizations are learning to orchestrate human-AI collaborations, where each party brings its distinctive strengths, thus creating a third space of expanded possibilities. The systematic cultivation of creativity requires both favorable external conditions and disciplined internal practices. Teresa Amabile's research on the componential theory of creativity identifies three key elements: expertise in a domain, deep knowledge; creative thinking skills, cognitive flexibility; and intrinsic motivation, passion for the work itself. When these components converge, that transformative magic we call inspiration occurs, but it is actually the result of a complex psychological and neurological process. In its highest expression, creativity transcends the utilitarian to become a path of self-knowledge and growth. As the poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, "The work of art is the daughter of an ever greater inner freedom." In a world that cries out for new solutions to ancient problems, regaining confidence in our collective creative capacity may be the most revolutionary and hopeful act within our reach. Because creativity, ultimately, is not just about making new things, but about becoming fuller and more authentic versions of ourselves through the act of creation.